What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 120 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we have about a 22-minute episode, but before we get into that, be sure to join the Discord channel. I'll have a link in the description below. Right now I'm doing a poll on my next ship build. I've generated this list based off of my top requests on YouTube. So if you want to get involved with that, be sure to join the Discord. And when you do, click on the tab next build poll and you'll be able to vote on my next build. Now, if you look at that list and you see that there's not one of the ships that you'd like to see me do next, I have another tab on Discord, build suggestions. Now, this is going to be something I'm going to be doing forward. I'm going to be referring everybody that does make a suggestion on my YouTube channel to this. Going forward, if you want to make a suggestion for my channel on what I should build next, you need to join the Discord and go to build suggestions and add that suggestions. This way other people can vote on it. Because what I want to do is I want to get my, I'd like to get the all the requests in one area. So this way everybody can see them. And have that all together. So be sure to check out the Discord for that. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into today's episode. So we're going to be working on, again, on the extended engineering area, and then we're also going to be going, I believe, down to engineering a little bit, and then also we're going to be adding a little bit more to the mall on the ship, which we haven't even worked on in just a little while. So let's go ahead and just get right into this thing today. And really all we're going to be doing is just clearing up some loose odds and ends here as far as the extended engineering goes. Just want to clean it up, make it look a little bit nicer, but we are pretty much done with it. There's really not going to be that much more we're going to be doing to it. The shape that we have in place is what we're going to be using. We're just going to clean it up to make it look a little bit nicer. But I'm definitely pretty happy with how this area has turned out. It's looking pretty awesome for what it is, you know. But this is just going to be one other room that we can add on the checklist of areas that are completed on the Enterprise D because, you know, like I've been saying, it's been a slow crawl to get here, but we're finally getting to this point. You know, we've spent 120 episodes working on this thing. For me, it's been over a year. It's just been one step at a time, but we're finally getting to a point that we can start adding things off on the checklist. It hasn't really seemed like, you know, that way for a while because I've even had people are like, why are you spending so much time working on these areas? Because it's freaking massive and it's taken forever. But I mean, that's just, you know, the reality of it. You know, when we're working on something of this scale, there's just really going to be no way around it. That it's going to take a little bit of time to do it right. But, you know, I think it's going to be worth it in the long run because, you know, we're going to have one of the most detailed Enterprise Ds by the time this thing is done. And I couldn't be more excited about it. Now, I actually just want to pop down and make sure I'm still recording. Okay, I'm good. No, my kitty cat decided to hop up on my desk and demand attention. It seems to be a recurring trend when I'm doing my videos. They decide, no, you don't need to be giving anyone attention but me, and they decide to hop up on my desk and just demand the attention. Leo, be nice. And of course, my cat Leo has let me know exactly how he feels about it. But you know, talk a little bit about this area while we're still in it. Really, I wanted to build something to show the scale of the warp core, which is this area right here, and then also build something else connected to it because I realized once I actually had that area up and fleshed out just a little bit that I was going to have a lot of dead space. So the piece behind it, I guess you'd probably just consider that the warp displacement field, or not the warp displacement field, excuse me. Probably like for the shield displacement field. I don't even know what they call that thing. So basically, the thing to make the shields work. That's what machine that would probably be. But there's still more work to do on engineering itself, which we won't get into today. Pretty much after today's episode, I think we're going to be taking a slight break from engineering for a little while and moving on to some other areas of the ship that need to get done. I believe the next episode after this one, it's either the next one or the one after. I'm pretty sure it's the next one. We're going to be working on the secondary corridor, circular corridors on the saucer section, which is going to be a lot of fun because it's, for one, it's going to be my first ship that has 3 decks of circular corridors. I can't say it's the only one that has 2 sets of them because I've done other ships in the past that have an outer and inner corridor, but I've never done one where it's been a triple decker. And then having 2 sets of triple deckers. That's going to be pretty cool because it's going to help us in further dividing the ship up just a little bit, and it'll be a little bit easier to maneuver around certain areas of the ship, adding in that secondary set of corridors. You can see here I'm just kind of cleaning up that line of the glass. I wanted to move that back a little bit, and I think we're going to get rid of that row and do a block of the gray just to make everything mesh just a little bit better. Now we're just going to get rid of some of this access just to clean it up. Because again, you know, all we're doing right here is we're just looking at our patterns. And this is, again, this is my bread and butter when I'm working on these ships, because it helps me to determine where I need to make a change and maybe slightly tweak something. And this is where I say learn your patterns, because when you start to identify these things, I promise you it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier to flesh out your ships and make them way more detailed and just prettier looking. I know that other people, they don't necessarily go off of a pattern on Minecraft, they just kind of build a shape. But for me, like, I don't, best way I can describe it, like, I tried doing it that way, not necessarily having a pattern, just building shapes, but it just really never really panned out for me. I wasn't really satisfied with how the builds would come out. So for that reason, I just kind of decided, I'm like, you know, I'm just not going to do it. That block should actually be a gray block. There we go. See, now we're cooking. Yeah, that looks pretty good. But definitely a lot of cool things to come on the channel going forward. Still a ton of work to do on the Enterprise D. We've got 10 forward that's going to be coming up. I believe it's not the next episode after we do the second ring of corridors, but it'll be the episode after that. We'll do 10 forward, and then there'll be other areas of little things that we'll be tweaking and work on other areas of the ship. I do know that it's either going to be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Could be sooner, could be a little bit longer, give or take. I haven't gone that far and watched all those episodes ahead of time yet, but we are sooner rather than later going to be getting into really starting to flesh out the saucer section of the ship, and we'll be working on the entertainment deck, and we'll be pretty much on the entertainment deck until that deck's completed, and then we'll be working on the crew quarters and then the medical bay, and then we just have to come back down and wrap up whatever I'm going to do with the back end of the lower hull on engineering, and then I have to finish the maul, and then we'll be done. But the maul itself, believe it or not, the maul isn't going to be that much to do, because like you'll see it later on, today's episode is going to look like we have a lot more that we need to do, but we'll be coming back to the maul and closing it in basically and having the shape in place that will then after that we'll just have to establish the shops and the stalls and everything. But I kind of have a pretty good idea on what I want to do with it, and I'm not going to build the entire maul out live. I'm probably just going to do one section of it because every section is going to be exactly the same, and just have you guys repeat that process for all the sides of it. But I think the mall will end up looking, it should look pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think about it when it's actually finished. But the cool thing about it is that the mall is within canon of the Enterprise D. And see, that's just making it look a little bit too small. Now you're probably wondering why I'm going to be, because now we're down in main engineering and we're stretching the doorway out for our turbo lift entryway point. I really wanted to do that so I can add a facade door right there. So this way this looks a little bit more natural. But now what we're going to have the challenge with is now everything's going to be kind of off proportion. So this wall here, we're going to have to shave that down. And then we're going to have to do the same thing on the other side just to make it all blend in a little bit better. And then we'll have to clean up the floor. You don't necessarily have to make this change if you don't want to. But for me, I really don't mind doing it because if it serves its purpose and it's helping me in getting that doorway there at the bottom of the turbo lift to help the ship again feel a little bit bigger than it actually is, then I have no problem with doing it. But again, this is just completely dealer's choice. I had somebody in my Discord channel ask me last night. They're like, "Hey, what should I do for lighting? And what did you do?" And I told them what I did, and I just told them, like, do what you think looks best, because at the end of the day, this is your ship that you're going to be working on. Have fun with it. Do what you think looks best. These tutorials, they're just meant to be a guide for what you could do, but it's not necessarily what you have to do. I think that's the one thing that I've really just tried to stress on my YouTube channel as I've done these builds. Because I try to show my variations, I try to show my mistakes, and I do this so people can see different ways in doing it, and if you hit a mistake, what you can do to correct that, and also showing the different variations and other ways of possibly doing it, because I may do something that you may not necessarily like, but showing those alternatives, maybe you might hit something there that you decide that you like, or it gives you a starting off point to go in a different direction that you want to go into. But we are looking pretty good so far. We're just getting in the rest of our ceiling here. All right. It's looking a little bit better. We got to clean it up just a little bit more. But once we're done with this, then we're going to be heading down into the saucer section and working on the maul just a little bit more here. The only other thing I could really do is this back wall here. To the left is add one more layer of that just to make it a little bit thicker. That might be a thing. I've ultimately decided that I want to go back with just one more row. Which, to be honest with you, at this point, you could have left it either way. It didn't really even look bad where it was before. Most of the time I can remember why I made that decision when I did. This is probably one of those rare moments where I can't remember exactly why I made that change, but at this point it's really not going to affect it one way or another. Either way I think is going to be fine. it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. Then we just need to put our brackets in place, because again, we're going with our pattern. Always want to make sure that your patterns match up. Your design cues as you're going room to room. This way it feels like a continuous ship and one thought process instead of a bunch of random rooms. Yeah, and I thought about adding a row of half slabs going along here, and that could have looked good, but I just kind of decided against it. So this is kind of going, I had my U.S.S. Enterprise A 1.1 discussion episode drop actually Saturday night, and I was kind of surprised with it. I was hoping that it was going to do well, but I didn't really know exactly how well it was going to do. And I've already had a ton of positive feedback from it. I haven't had one person say anything negative about it. All my response that I've gotten so far have been nothing but positive, and that actually makes me feel really good and excited because hopefully when that tutorial drops, I'll be able to get quite a bit of new subscribers out of that. Because I mean, I got to be honest, out of all the builds that I'm either currently working on or planning, I think the Enterprise A 1.1 is one of the ships I'm probably going to be really passionate about. But you know, that's going to be something that's going to drop whenever I hit 1,000 subscribers. But I want to keep talking about it because I want people to know that this thing isn't going anywhere. And that as soon as I do hit 1,000 subscribers, that's going to be dropping. So if that's something that you want to see, help me out and share the channel so this way I can get a little bit more subscribers and get to that point just a little bit faster. So right now we're going to be transitioning off into the final part of today's episode, panning back into the mall. Now, the last time we left off, we added this lip here, and so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like we went 5 out. But what I'm basically getting ready to do is we're pretty much going to be adding the shelf for all the shops. Now, what we could do to is go back into our pixel circle generator, but at this point in the build, that having a perfect circle in this area really isn't going to matter all that much. So what we're about to do is we're about to cheat our butts off. So I'm pretty much just going to follow the pre-existing line. I'm just going a few rows out. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows out. And then I'm just literally repeating that same pattern. And again, just going with the cut line. Because from a distance, and like if we were on the outside of the ship or something like that, depending on how it came out, it may not even necessarily be an issue. But for the inside of the ship, it's definitely not, because put it this way, you're not going to notice if there is a slight variation and it's not a perfect oval. So that was kind of like my main thought process behind it, and why I just ultimately decided, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't really need to hit the pixel circle generator again. So I think in that case, I'm just going to let it go and just go off of the pattern I have, just going off of a row of 5. And I'm not even looking for perfection here. Again, we've got a couple more rows that we have to do, but we're going to do this for all 4 sides. And then of course we're going to fill in the floor, and then pretty much behind this wall row that we have here, we're going to do our wall. But I would probably just wait to do that. Now you can see here that, so, and I do want to talk about this. Let's just slightly rewind. So when we were getting back up to this side here, for this first row of 2, you can see I've already done 2 rows of 2. So if you want to have exactly what I have there, you're going to want to add those 2 additional ones. Because I noticed that it was getting a little bit closer in, I was kind of trying to make it come out just a little bit more. Because even though I started with it being 5 out, as we hit this side, it feels like it kind of came in a little bit. Which again, it's not that big of a deal. I think it'll be just fine. So I'm just going to let the rest of this play out and kind of go from there. But there's still there's quite a bit to do left on this build. I'm not exactly sure how many episodes Enterprise D is going to end up being. I've actually had some people make some suggestions that maybe I should do another smaller build in the meantime while I'm working on the Enterprise D. And that could actually end up being a thing. I had started, believe it or not, I had actually started another mock tutorial. But I had 2 problems. For one, it didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to. And then on top of that, the save file that I did it on became corrupted and I lost it. And I actually kind of got a little bit scared about that because it was right after the last update for Minecraft came out, and I loaded up my world and nothing was there, and I got really, really concerned. So I backed out of Minecraft, I restarted it, came back in, the save file was still gone. So I ended up just deleting that last save. I made 4 more saves of my very last save prior to that, and luckily I didn't lose anything. But if something like that happens to you, this is why it's important to have multiple save files. I have at least, well, put it this way, every time I get on and build on Minecraft, I make a copy of it. So I mean, at this point I've got like 80 backups that I've made, and I pretty much go through them, and I try to keep it at least 80. I don't want to go like above that number because that's just overkill, but it gives me like a safety net that if something does happen like it just did there, that what I lose, it hopefully will not be that significant. But that being the case, what I'm probably going to end up start doing, just because of what happened with what I had started working on as another side project, once I save my game, I'm going to be making an extra duplicate of that save just to have it, so this way I won't have to worry about that again. I've actually been pretty fortunate with it so far. I really haven't lost any work that I've published on the YouTube channel, with the exception of the Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon is the only ship that I actually I built it out and then I lost it because the same thing happened. The save file became corrupted. But in the 10 years that I've been playing Minecraft, I'll take 2 small builds over a couple of large big ones losing those any day of the week. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been nice to have my Millennium Falcon in my Minecraft world, because my current save, I mean, this is pretty much like a period of 10 years that I've been working on Minecraft, and I've done it in the same world. I haven't gone in and built another world or started over again, and I probably could have if I really wanted to. I could have uploaded this onto PC and downloaded some mods and started from scratch and had like a really cool like space setting and stuff like that. But I just said, like, you know what, like I'm just gonna kind of have everything together and just be one giant portfolio. But pretty much in getting just briefly back when we got going on here, what I'm doing now, you're going to want to do this for all sides of your mall, both the bottom deck and the top deck, extending this out, because remember what we're adding here is pretty much going to be the shelf of where all the shops are going to ultimately go. And we're pretty much getting much necessary prep work done so that when we do finally come in and finalize the shops, it'll be ready for it, you know. I think out of all the areas on my ship so far, the mall and the engineering have been the biggest. So you can see I'm cutting out my doorways now. And I actually made a slight mistake right there for this doorway. I should have moved it over, and right where this bracket is, right here, I think, is where we should have had that doorway. But we're going to fix that, don't worry. Or actually, no, I should have had it in between, right in here. But we will fix that just to make it match up with this side, because this is going to be the walkway going around, and where we have the doorway right here, this is going to impede on where the mall shops are. So that's all we're going to be doing for that today. But yeah, definitely do this around all four sides on the bottom row, and then come around again, do that on all four sides, and then just fill that in. You can use the white concrete, or yeah, the white concrete, that'll work out just fine. And then we'll be coming back, we'll adding in the walls to close this area off, and then we'll be leaving it alone for a little while we work on other areas of the ship, but we'll come back to it. But I do think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. If you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, don't forget you can catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. If you have any questions regarding today's episode, be sure to drop a comment below or join the Discord channel. I'll have a link in the description below. I definitely love hearing from everybody. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And I'll catch you in the next episode. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.